Good afternoon, and welcome to the Ruby Room at Cornell Public Library. I'm Miss Jennifer, and for today's Tinker Tuesday, we're going to make DIY spin tops, paper spin tops. So this is what we're going to be making. So you can see it's got lovely little layers on it. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over the ingredients, what materials you need. You are going to need paper, preferably colored paper if you want. You're going to need a ruler. You're going to need scissors, a pen, a glue stick, and you're going to need toothpicks, preferably nicer ones that have a really nice point to them, because that's how we're going to get the spin, the top to spin. So of course, as always, the very end we'll talk about the science behind this, but let's go ahead and get started talking about the steps. So the first thing you're going to do, it's a very simple little craft we're going to do to make our own paper spin tops. You're going to take your paper and you are going to find on your ruler the centimeters, and you are going to measure out along your paper 1 centimeter, and then you're going to cut out strips that are 1 centimeter wide. I've got red, yellow, and blue, but you can use whatever colors you want. And the next step is we're going to be taking our toothpick and we're going to glue the paper in layers. This one here that I have done is 10 layers. That's about how many you want to do. So you can do all one color, you can do different colors, whatever you want, but know that you need 10 layers at least. All right, so the next step is we're going to take a closer look, and I'm going to do a time lapse, because it does take a little bit rolling it around and around and around and gluing as you go. But I'm going to do a time lapse of making one of these, and then we'll talk about the science behind it, and then you guys can enjoy your own homemade old-fashioned spin tops. All right, we're ready to start our process. I do want to point out, so see how my layers are much thicker in the center, and then they get thinner and thinner, of course, as we use up more of the paper to go around. So if you want to make a particular design or pattern, keep that in mind, that your first bands, the closest to the center, are going to be the thickest. So each one of these layers represents one of these strips of paper. So just keep that in mind if you have the desire to do a pattern or not. So I'm going to go ahead and start mine off on camera, and then I'll hyperlapse the rest of it. So to start this out, so see about how far I have this one going down. That's where we want to glue down our spin top. All right. So I'm just going to take a piece of red. I'm going to get it coated. And you're going to want to put glue on as you go. I'm going to get it coated. And then I'm going to stick it where I want. So I'm putting it right where the toothpick tapers off and it's no longer at an angle. That's where I'm going to place mine. And then I'm going to carefully wrap around. You want it nice and tight. All right. All right, and now that I've got this started, I'm going to stick more glue down on my stick so they can stay in place. All right. Now if you ever need to, you can always let it dry for a minute while you and wait. But I'm going to keep going on this strip, and then we're going to do a hyperlapse starting from here. So again, this is pretty much it. You're just going to add, as soon as I'm done gluing down this piece, I'm going to add my next piece and so on until I have all 10 glued onto my stick. And as it gets thicker, you can use the sides to kind of help roll it, as I'm doing with my hand here, so it's really nice and tight. So that's the key to this activity, this craft, is to have it nice and tight. So let's see if I can. So nice and tight. So you can see I've got it barely started. So yeah, next we're going to do a hyperlapse of me working on this. All right, so my second spin top is all done. So for this one, I did all the colors together. Here's the other one. I alternated on that one. So now it just needs to completely dry all the way, let all the glue dry. And then we're ready for a closer look of it working, and we'll talk about the science behind why spin tops spin like they do. All right, stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back. So now we're going to talk about a little bit about the science behind our lovely little spin tops that we made. So spinning tops have been around since ancient history, dating back as far as we know, 4,000 years ago to ancient Egypt. So the science behind these is actually really complex for such a simple toy. But we're going to talk about it in some simplified terms. Is that what's going on is when you initially spin the top, the top's turning is stored energy, also called potential energy, and it's going to be changing that stored energy into energy of motion, which is kinetic energy. So the top eventually stops spinning because of friction and gravity. So the surface below the top is what's providing the friction. So whatever it's spinning against, that is giving it friction. And eventually, with all the friction, it causes enough of the spinning to slow down, and the top begins to wobble. So as it begins to wobble, the top tilts, allowing gravity to pull it over. So that's basically what is going on with the science behind the spin top. We have stored energy or potential energy, and we've got the energy of motion, kinetic energy, and then we have the forces of friction and gravity working on the spin top. So the whole time it's spinning, you know, friction and gravity are trying to pull it down. So the less friction and the more stable it is, meaning, you know, the way it's shaped and all the different variables, will determine how long your top will spin for, but it will eventually stop spinning. All right, I hope you guys really enjoyed making these spin tops. Don't forget, this week you can pick up your engineering kits so that you can do the engineering challenge next week, which is going to be building a paper house with only very limited supplies. So it's going to be a challenge to use what you've been given to make a paper house. So tune in for that next week. All right, see you then. Bye.